Hello there YouTube, it's me Morphsuit America, and in this video I'll be talking about the Puras weapon and then the Stil weapon. It's going to be back to back because they do link to each other in a way, because if you make the Puras, guess what? You'll want to upgrade that Puras into a Stil if possible. I'll break down on how you can get these weapons, how you can get certain materials so you can make your first Stil weapon, hopefully. If not, then maybe it's your second, third, fourth, I don't know, whatever number, but this will give you guys a breakdown to get your Stil weapon. I am also going to cover the weapon potential, the SAF, and then some other things about this weapon. If you want to see a certain point, make sure to look in the description. There will be time skips, and there will be references to other videos here and there as well. You can look in the description for that, or it might pop up in the upper right hand corner. When it comes to figuring out what you need to actually make the Stil and Puras, you would need to find Zieg. Zieg is located in the shop area right next to Monica and Dudu. You can't miss him. He is your main go-to guy when it comes to weapon upgrades and unit upgrades, or getting the relevant / important weapons in our units. When you find Zieg, what you want to do is click on him. You want to click on the tab with striking, range, or technique. This depends on what weapon you are aiming for. Since I'm going to go for a wand, I want to click on obtain technique weapons because it is in the T attack. If you're not familiar with what weapon is in what category, just look at the background color for it. If it's orange, it's going to be striking. If it's blue, it's going to be range. And if it's yellow, it's going to be technique. But obviously you can just click on these and you can easily glance at the different weapons that are in these categories. So I already know that wand is in T attack or in technique. So it's going to show me these, and all I need to do is click on the wand icon or the wand category. It's going to take me to all the wands that I can make. Once again, I am making a playlist and a bunch of different videos explaining how you can get each one of these, especially in terms of the 15 stars, but let's focus on the Puras and Stil. Now, when it comes to the Stil, you cannot work on it until you get a Puras, and to get a Puras, you actually need 3 particular weapons. Now, I did mention it in a bunch of previous videos saying like, hey, look, you need to have these weapons for this and stuff. Once again, I'll explain how to go about this. Half of these materials, or well, at least 2 of these are specifically from Divide. I am working on a video talking about Divide quests, giving you guys a breakdown, explaining the gist of it. There is a long video that I have recorded, which will show you guys how long it takes to do Divides, depending on certain circumstances. The thing is, you will need to get these grain crystals in the fragments. Now, for pure photons and ultimate boosters, that will take a while. However, if you are farming Divide, you will get them in due time because they will have different stages. I will show that briefly in this video. And then, when it comes to these 3, these are 3 specific weapons. 2 of them are going to be a 15 star, and then 1 of them is going to be a 14 star. When it comes to the Puras and or Stil SAF, they will give you a grade 6 ability, technique 6, power 6, or shoot 6. If you go to range weapons, for example, you look at the Puras and the Stil, they will give you a SAF for shoot 6, and if you go for something like the S attack weapons or the striking weapons, you notice that this one will give you a grade 6. So I wouldn't really go for these, but this is up to you if you want to use this to your advantage with your final fixes. I'll leave it at that. For the weapon potential of the Stil and Puras, there will be slight differences here and there, but for the Stil, it will be same throughout the board. For example, if I bring up the Stil for the wand, you'll see that this will emphasize on the Steadfast Might, level 3, damage boost lowers when you take damage and recovers over time. A 60% damage boost reduces damage taken by 40%, boosts PP regen by 50%, recovers 20 PP every 10 seconds, and you become massive. So if I decide to go over and stare at the rifle, for example, it will have that same effect. So I'm going to click on it, go to the 3rd option. You see that it has Steadfast Might level 3 as well, damage boost lower when you take damage, and recovers over time at 16% damage boost, reduce damage taken by 40%, boost PP regen by 50%, recovers 20 PP every 10 seconds, and you become massive. So let us stare at the Puras. Now the Puras, it will roughly have the same effect, it's just going to be downgraded, but there's slight variance, especially if you go for a different weapon type. Let's stare at the rifle, for example. You can see that this gives an effortless charity level 3. Damage boost lowers when you take damage and recovers over time. Alright, that first sentence is going to be the same. However, the second one's going to be a bit different. At 60% damage boost, become massive, and recover 20 PP every 10 seconds. Alright, memorize that. Or most likely, I might give you guys a edit in a bit when I go over to the wand. So I'm gonna go over here, get to check the weapon potential for the wand, and you'll notice that there is a difference. The first sentence is the same. The name of this is called Effortless Wisdom level 3, but the second sentence is where it starts to be a bit different. So at 60% damage boost PP regen by 60% and reduce damage taken by 40%. The rifle had something different, which was massive and giving PP for like, I think it was, I don't know, there was like a fixed number for that, but it was like for 10 seconds. So there is a difference, and you'll see it on the screen as I talk about it. So just keep that in mind. If you go for a certain Puros, it's gonna have some differences here and there compared to other weapon types. But when you go for the Stil, it's gonna be same throughout the board. And if you have a Puros already, this is just gonna get a huge upgrade where it unlocks all of the benefits if you go from Puros to a Stil. There's one little thing that I need to point out when it comes to the Puros and the Stil weapon, and it's the fact that it has 4 S-class abilities. S-class ability 1, 2, 3, and 5. There's only one other weapon that I can name off the top of my head in terms of a 15-star that can give 4 S-class abilities. It's the Atlas EX. That one can pretty much hold 1, 2, 3, but instead of 5, it's going to hold a 4. So this is the second weapon in game that actually has 4 S-class abilities. I need to make a separate video emphasizing on why it's important to actually customize these S-class abilities and why S-class abilities play a huge factor into your weapons now. But that is something you need to note. It has 4 S-class abilities. The same can be said with the Stil weapon as well. 1, 2, 3, and a 5. I will explain how to get these specific weapons for whatever weapon type you are going for. There are fixed methods to get them. However, I want to emphasize on the RNG method, which is trying to farm for them. I did cover a couple of these various weapons you can try to aim for. I will mention them in due time when I give you guys a breakdown. You can find it in the description or upper right hand corner. But the thing is, you would want to get it as a natural drop from a quest because 1, the grind value is going to be at 35. If it's at 35 already, you don't need to spend a bunch of your different currencies to get a bunch of dupes, which then you need to feed into the weapon that you bought off of the fixed method. Understand that if you buy anything from a shop, there's only a few exceptions, but most of the weapons that you buy off of a shop, the grind value is not going to be at 35. It's going to be at 30. So guess what? You will need multiple dupes to get that to a plus 35. I already explained how to go about this and how to increase your weapon value, upper right hand corner or in the description, but you want to keep that in mind. The only reason why you will want to get, or the only reason why you would want to go through the fixed method to get the weapon that you need is 1, because you have a bunch of currencies to do that, and secondly, because you are close to getting your Puros and your Stil. You might as well go and use those materials you need so you can finalize everything. This ultimately falls on you and how you want to go about it. I'm just stating that if you can, and if possible, try to farm it because it will save you the different currencies that you have so you can use it for something else. When it comes to the one weapon you need to get for the Puros, it will be the Dim weapon. The Dim weapon series you can buy off of the market or you can farm for them, and when it comes to farming for them, they do drop like candy. You can get them through some of the ultra hard difficulties on emergency quests. The biggest one would be through divide quests. They do drop in divide quests. I don't think I can show you guys the records for that, but you can get them as a drop from here. Just spam it multiple times. You'll get your hands on one of these. Yeah, I can't show you guys the quest records for it, but you can see that in my storage I do have a bunch of dim weapons at various affixed numbers and stuff. When it comes to the dim, you will want to try to get one at an A slot and at a light element. The reason why I'm going to emphasize on that is because if you have your other two weapons, the 15 stars you need to get, and they're not at an A slot in a light element, guess what? The dim weapon will be able to at least give you that option when you select it. I'll go further into details about the selecting process and why this is a big deal. If I want to buy it, for example, all I need to do is find a Visa phone, click on it, go to player shops, click on item search, type in the name, it's gonna be dim wand. Once I do that, it's gonna pop it up. You'll see that the cheapest one is 186,900 Meseta. However, if I want to be very specific, I would need to change this. It's gonna be a new type weapon. I need to go down here, move this or change that number of abilities. I want 8, And if I want to have a light element, I just need to go to the attribute tab, click on search by price, and you see that the first item will cost 462,000. That fulfilled that criteria. It's not at a grind value of 35, I can do it myself, but it gives me the 8 slot and the light element. Once again, this will help you when it comes to the weapon selection later, when it comes to you going from the 3 weapons into a Puros. Let's talk about the orb weapons. Now, not confusing this with the other orb weapons like the orbit weapons, the 13-star weapons. I'm referring to the 15-star Orb Weapon Series. Now, if I decide to type orb in and try to look through the database for it, you'll see that they don't have the specific orb 15-star weapons, meaning that once again, you cannot buy these. This is going to show the 13-star variant, but this is not what we're looking for, and there's no way to get a 13-star or 14-star into that 15-star. Before I go into the fixed method, let me talk about the RNG method. There are a couple emergency quests that will drop it, a couple limited quests as well. The biggest one you would want to do would be Piper of Disharmony. That is a feature quest. If you haven't unlocked feature quests or bonus quests, I did make a video talking about how to unlock it. But when it comes to the 4th quest in the feature quest, this is the one you want to stare at every time there's a refresh, every day, because this will most likely show Piper Disharmony somewhere within that week. Piper Disharmony was a limited quest that people spam and did for a certain time, and it is on rotation with all these other limited quests. This one, for example, this was back in episode 2, I think. So you don't want to do this because it's not up to date. It doesn't have extra hard, but it doesn't have ultra hard. But this doesn't even drop an orb weapon. You want to do Piper of Disharmony because, one, it does drop an orb 15-star weapon. It has a chance to do so. Secondly, with the Piper of Disharmony, it also gives you cobalt medals. If you want to see a video explaining about what you do exactly for that quest, I do have a video for it up in the right hand corner or in the description. Once again, there's a couple other quests that would drop an orb. You would just need to go to the quest, click on its information. Like, let's say if I want to do the ultra hard, I don't know if this one drops it, you might want to give it a look. If I want to do this one, for example, and I want to know if it drops it, go to view quest records, click on item records, and see if it does drop. As you can see, this one doesn't give you that. It does give you a chance to get some other weapon series that you'll need for other weapon types for this Puros, but once again, you'll need to do a bit more research. Now, to go to the fixed method, you need to go to the elevator. You want to be in the shop area. You want to go to the 2nd floor. I'm going to take these stairs, go towards the right. You'll see a bunch of NPCs over here. Talk to the metal exchange attendant. You want to click on the 4th option, which is Cobalt Metal Exchange, and this is your fixed method to get the orb weapons. And once again, emphasizing on this again, this will cost cobalt metals, which you can get from Piper Disharmony. There was another way to do it, which was the Evangelion collab with Ramio, the one angel. You use the AIS and stuff. You can find videos on that. I didn't make a personal video for it. I missed a chance to do so because I didn't have the right equipment. But I got 2 problems with this. One, it's not at a grind value of 35. Once again, I did a video talking about this and emphasizing on how you can go about getting this. But if you decide to buy a bunch of these orbs, you would need to buy dupes to get it to plus 35. So you would need to buy 6 of these. So you get your 1, and then you need 5 others to feed into this one, and then it'll be at 35. This will cost you 600 cobalt metals. That's not the problem. The problem is this thing right here. You have to wait. There is a cooldown for it. You can only buy 1 per week. Since you can only buy 1 of these per week, guess what? That's 6 weeks you have to wait. That's roughly around a month. And a half maybe? That's a long time before you can actually get your Puros and your Stil weapon. I can't tell which one is the better method. Obviously, if you get it through the RNG method, you farm the quest many times and you get it as a natural drop. That is a huge plus side. That means you don't need to wait the 6 weeks. But if you're not lucky enough and you've been farming it constantly but you're not getting it as a drop, then it might be best to go towards this fixed method. For me personally, to get what I needed so I can go towards a certain Puros and then for a certain Stil weapon, I decided to do the fixed method because I wasn't farming a bunch of type of Disharmony, or I knew that if I go towards a certain emergency quest that could drop an orb weapon, it's not going to drop for me. So I did do this method, the fixed method, to slowly build up towards my plus 35 orb weapon. Ultimately, this falls on you. I'm just giving you guys some word of advice and some cautions if you decide to try to do both of the same things at the same time. For example, you trying to slowly build your way through the fixed method, but you're also actively trying to farm for it as well. That might hurt you in the butt, but ultimately this falls on how you can toy around with it and how you can get the most out of it. Luckily, with the other 15 star, you don't really need to worry about any sort of cooldown. You have. Before we go on to the third weapon, I do need to point something out. With the weapons, some of these Puras weapons do not require an orb weapon. Two of these would be like the wire lance and the sword. There's several others as well. You just need to look at it. But if you look at the requirement for the sword Puras, you'll notice that this does not require an orb. It requires the Oblicina waft. And when it comes to the wire lance, for example, this will require an Arcure Charis or Charis, or however you pronounce it. So pretty much for the fixed method, you will want to go find that NPC I talked about earlier, this Meadow Exchange Attendant. You click on her. Instead of going to the fourth option, go to the one right above it, the third option, the limited price Meadow Exchange. You can get these, but once again, the problem is not at max rarity 35, and there is a cooldown, which is roughly around 6 weeks if you plan to get 6 of these. Here's another problem though. The gold prize medals. I don't know how you can acquire these easily. I don't know if there's a certain limited quest that can actually drop them. I haven't done all the emergency quests. I know that, or all of the limited quests. I know that the certain emergency quest called Armada of Demise, the first new emergency quest for episode 6, that one does drop gold prize medals. But other than that, I don't know what other quest drops a bunch of gold prize medals. When it comes to getting the third weapon, the 15 star you need to obtain so you can go towards a Puras, you got two ways, the fixed or the random method. There is no way to buy the 15 stars just yet. Once again, this might take a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months, maybe half of a year, maybe a year, I don't know. But for now, the fixed and the random. Now let me talk about the fixed method. You want to talk to Zieg. When you talk to Zieg, click on the third option, the crest weapons. You want to click on that, and then you want to click on the first option, the sage crest. When you do that, it will show you a bunch of 15 stars. Note that most of these 15 stars are needed to make a specific Puras, or this is the third option in that Puras option. For example, when it comes to my wand weapon, guess what? That Clorta Dulce, it is in this selection choice. The only downfall with this is that I would need to buy 6 of these because this is at a max grind value of 30. So do 6 times 250, guess what? I need 1,500 crest to get this to plus 35. The good thing about this compared to the orb weapon is that there is no cooldown. As long as I have the currency to do such a transaction, I can carry on with it. And you don't need to buy all these. Once again, like some of these, like this rifle for example, you don't really need to get this rifle to go for a Puras rifle. You actually need this one down here. And if you don't believe me, you will need to go over here, click on the obtain range weapons, click on assault rifle. When you stare at the Puras requirements, you'll notice that instead of the resonant weapon, it is actually the Genon weapon series. Just to emphasize my point, let me go over a few of these Puras weapons and just point to the fact that Zieg has those 15 stars you need so you can go towards the Puras. For example, this one for example, with the rod, you would need this resonant one. Guess what? If you go to the crest icons or the crest options, click on that. Hey, look, there's that rod that I need to go for a Puras rod. Alright, let's say, what do I need for a cannon or a launcher? Let's go over here. You'll notice that he wants a combat cannon. Alright, so does he have that in here? Guess what? He will have it in here because it's all the way down here. You will need to get a bunch of dupes, a bunch of currencies for it, but you can get this to plus 35. Last one we'll talk about, let's say you are trying to get the katana for, well, let's go with a sword instead. So you can see that to get the Puras sword, I need this Dying weapon series. Guess what? Oh wait, I did not want to exit out of you. Guess what? He has that sword too. So if you are looking for a fixed method to get these 15 stars, Zieg is your go-to. The only thing is you will need these crests. Now there are times and updates and news on the bump website, and then also Japanese PSO2 as well if you read Japanese, that will display and show you how to get certain sage quests here and there. Like my previous points, there will be a couple quests that you can try to go towards so they can drop a certain 50 star you will need. For example, when it comes to bonus quests, Rainbow, guess what? They do have a couple of those 15 stars you'll need so you can go towards the Puros. If you click on the quest records, go to item record, guess what? They do have some of those 15 stars you'll need, especially when it comes to the third items. Now there's a couple of them like this one that you'll need in terms of getting the launcher, but that is an option. You can use your rainbow keys to try to go for these drops. Rainbow key. Rainbow keys are hard to acquire, but hopefully you get them through RNG through featured quests, or you just wait till Sega gives you a bunch of rainbow keys. The other one you can go for would be this one right over here. This quest is a 4-4 party in NPA, I think, but I don't know how it works exactly. You might actually get mixed up with another party that's 4-4. I haven't done that quest, so I can't give you the exact details on it. However, if you go to quest records for this ultimate quest, guess what? It does drop a bunch of 15 stars as well. Some of them are what you may need, like the Clorta Dolphs for the wand, and I think these will be needed for the sword. This one's for the sword, and then this one's for gun slash. Looks like a gun slash. No, it looks like something else. A talus? Is that a talus? That's an icon for a talus, I think. Huh. It looks like a spear. But there's a couple of weapons that you can get by spamming this ultimate quest as well. There's several other ways to get it. There are several other quests that will most likely drop them as well. You have to look into the quest info for that. The episode 6 limited quest that was here, they did drop a couple weapons that you would need to use, so you can go for it. Puros. I will always mention, like if I do a video talking about the emergency quest and whatnot, I would mention around the end of the video if this quest can give you a drop that can help you, or that can give you something to go for Puros and or a Puros specifically. That covers most of my points and explanations and how to get these certain weapons so you can try to make your Puros. Let me talk about the other things you need so you can get your Puros weapon. When it comes to getting the other materials you need so you can get your Puros weapons, you'll see the weapon in the right side of the screen, and you'll see red boxes for the stuff that you'll need to get. Just farm Divide. I am making a thorough video talking about Divide, talking about the loot drop and all that jazz, but the gist of it is just farm Divide. You get a bunch of drops here and there. Not only are you going through 6 different stages, during your runs you'll be able to get a bunch of rare drop goods, and also a bunch of fragments and Divide medals, and then several other miscellaneous things or several important materials you need so you can go for Puros. For example, ultimate boosters do drop. I don't know when exactly, but it was a drop when I looked at it. And not only that, when it comes to the fourth option, instead of seeing like item record drop or the special ability drop, it shows you this thing. This is per character per week. So guess what? There's a fixed way to get drops. This is handy because guess what? If you got multiple characters, you can use it to your advantage. And then not only that, like if you acquire a decent amount of points, you get these rewards. For example, if I hit 250,000 points or above, I will get these rewards, which is a pure photon and ultimate boosters. Guess what? You need these so you can go for your Puros or any other weapon in our unit. Now the fragments, they do drop when you hit 350,000 points, and then you get a bunch more. Now these modules, you'll need them for the Stil upgrade. From going from your Puros to a Stil, you'll need these modules. So the gist of it is do Divide quests. That's how you do it, and this is per character. So if you got 20 characters and they're all at level 85, guess what? You can use Divide quests to your advantage and stock up on a bunch of ultimate boosters and pure photons, along with like the currency, so you can go to the metal shop and exchange them. If you go down here to the shop area again, we're gonna go to that familiar NPC. I cannot pronounce her name for the life of me, so I'm not gonna try to do such a thing. We're gonna go to the 5th option right below the Cobalt Metal. We're gonna go to Divide Metal Exchange. When you do this, guess what? There's a bunch of stuff that you can trade in. However, the biggest two would be these two. Now, there are a couple of weapons over here that you can go for. I will make a short separate video talking about it. Pretty much just farm Divide so you can get these things as well. The big thing is this crystal. You need this. This does not drop. I mean, I think it drops randomly in Divide, but it's a rare drop rate. I am not 100% sure since you can't look at the item records. You can get some other stuff here, but I'm just going to emphasize more on this thing here because guess what? This is the main meat of your exchanges in this shop in terms of getting the weapon that you are aiming for. But then also when it comes to the Stil and even making a Puros, you need this grain crystal. Here's the problem with this crystal. Out of all the other things you can get over here and compared to the other meta shops where it's like a week cooldown, this one is a month cooldown. A month, or rough around 4 weeks. You have to wait 4 weeks before you can get 4 of these things. So if you have the currencies to do that and that's gonna refresh, make sure you buy at least 4 of them if possible. Just because that is a month wait. A month. That is a long time. Unlike the 15 stars, you can buy the modules. When it comes to these modules, some of them will vary in price. For example, Execore, it's not going to cost as much, but then if you go look at Varuna, you'll see that it will cost a decent chunk just to get one of these. You can use this to your advantage and you can sell these as well if you don't plan to go for another Puros and or Stil weapon. This is ultimately up to you. This is an option you can go for. However, when it comes to some of the other materials like the fragments for example, you'll see that you cannot sell that. When it comes to the big crystal, the grainy, I don't know how to spell it, I think it's either that one or that one, but you can see that nothing pops up. When it comes to the Divide metals, that will not be a thing you can sell. You'll see that stuff instead. And then the last one would be a certain fragment, I think. Lemire fragment, yeah, you do not see that. So the only things that you can technically buy would be the modules, but that is up to you. That depends on what you want to do and how you want to go about it. However, that concludes this point talking about the materials and how to get them. Let us talk about the conversion. So, if you want to make your wand Puros, for example, you get to click on exchange. You need to make sure that your weapons are unlocked and they are in your inventory. If they are not unlocked, it will not show up. So you want to make sure you select all these items, and if you have a material storage, they can process the materials that you have in that storage, so you don't need to physically have it in your inventory. When you do that, the next option is base weapon selection. This is why I tell you guys to get an 8 slot at the right element, and hopefully it's the element value of 60, because this will carry over. So if I want to carry this over, for example, if I decide to use this as the base weapon selection, guess what? It's going to carry over that element's value, the elements, and the 5 slots and the abilities. Do I want to really carry over something that's at a 5 slot when I have something that's already at an 8 slot? That's up to you, but ultimately I would say do the 8 slot method just because you don't need to deal with upslotting. You don't do this, it's going to be a pain in the butt to actually fix this, and you don't want to finalize your fix as well because guess what? This thing only has like 2 S-class abilities. You're going to need to re-affix your final weapon again because it has more S-class slots. That's how you go about doing this process though. You get to select something, you get to hit yes, it's going to do the final transaction. It's going to make it as it is. I'm not going to do that, but you will need to trade in all those weapons and all those materials. Now when it comes to you going from the Puros to the Stil, guess what? You only need to trade in your Puros to get this Stil upgrade. However, when it comes to this upgrade, you will need a bunch of modules. You need the Metra, Varuna, and Execore. When it comes to these two, they're the hardest one to get because one, you can't really fight them on the, You can't really fight them throughout the different stages that you go through in Divide quests. However, you do get a fixed drop from doing the point system for Divide quests. So if you got multiple characters, guess what? You can build up on this. And not only that, when it comes to the modules, you can buy them. Pretty much once you do this conversion, guess what? You have your Stil weapon. Might be your first one, congrats if it is. If it's not, it might be your second, third, fourth. Regardless, congrats on making a Stil weapon. The only thing I'll really complain about would be the grain crystals because guess what? You need 6 of these and you can only get 4 of these through that transaction in the shop. So you're going to have to wait another month if you're trying to get a bunch of these crystals. That concludes this video talking about how to make your Stil and Puros weapon. Hopefully this video has been informative and helped you figure out a way to go about it and some tips and tricks that you might not have known about. use this to your advantage. Use this knowledge to get yourself a Stil weapon. If you have any question, comment, concerns, put it down below. If you want to add on to it, you can put it down below as well. If you want to talk about how many Stil weapons you have, you can. I am finally getting my first one because I didn't really farm this heavily, or I didn't really go out of my way to make it right off the bat. But now I'm getting to that point where I can make it. So I am going to make it. This is why I made the video talking about it. And guess what? The next video that I'm going to do will showcase me making my Puras and Stil weapon, and then immediately go into weapon affixes. So it's going to be one giant video where I do a bunch of things here and there. So look forward towards that. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace.